The pair that reality TV viewers can't stop watching has been Chrissy Lampkin and Jim Jones for more than 20 years. Proposals, engagements, arguments, tears. They've provided us everything, including reconciliations. Nevertheless, one question has plagued them more than any other during all of the highs and lows. Why haven't they gotten married? Chrissy and Jim recently disclosed the true reason they will never go down the aisle. So get ready. The aisle. Fans weren't prepared for it either. Insiders and longtime watchers alike gasped as the pair revealed the stunning details of the reality that they have concealed for years. It's not about timing, to put it mildly. Money isn't the point. Additionally, it's not even about family strife. It's something far more explosive, darker, and deeper. The social media world is in ruins. After years of hoping for a fairy tale wedding, many now feel deceived, caught off guard, and devastated. Some others are applauding Chrissy for informing her at last. Truth, while some blame Jim for keeping her in his thrall for so long. The worst part is that their confession provoked more questions than it did answers. What precisely has this relationship been based on for all these years, if marriage was never the goal? And believe me, the explanation why they give is going to alter your perception of their whole romance. To comprehend why the latest confession by Jim Jones and Chrissy Lampkin rocked the culture, the tape has to be rewinded. This duo essentially created the contemporary pattern for reality because they didn't appear out of nowhere. Relationships on TV. Marriage served as the enticing hook that kept followers interested for years. The history of hip, the first reality couple in hip-hop. Jim Jones was at the peak of his rap career in the early 2000s, when songs like We Fly High Bailin' made him a household name. He was accompanied by Chrissy, who was already well known for her fiery attitude and sense of style. Their chemistry was evident from the start, explosive but captivating, teeming with disputes, reconciliations, and a devotion that supporters couldn't ignore. When hip-hop's first love, Chrissy and Jim carried the show's initial seasons when it was first debuted in 2011, viewers were immediately drawn to Chrissy's audacity, readiness to confront anyone who stood in her way, and her candid vulnerability in Jim's case. The notorious proposal was the start of the marriage plot. Who could overlook the famous instance when Chrissy got down on one knee herself because she was sick of waiting for Jim to pop the question? That sequence on reality TV became one of the most talked about ones, past. She was commended by several followers for accepting responsibility for her own happiness. She was chastised by others for pleading with a man to marry her. However, one thing was evident. It paved the way for more than 10 years of inquiries. Would Jim wed her at last? Would Chrissy be able to attend the wedding? Well earned? Or did this proposal mark the start of a never-ending heartache? Jim's mother then interfered in family matters. Mama Jones, a self-contained firecracker. She made it apparent right on that she didn't like Chrissy, and their conflict developed into a plot point. Independently. It's well known that Mama Jones said Chrissy wasn't the proper fit for her son because she was too demanding and bossy. The marital controversy was only exacerbated by that familial turmoil. Supporters contended that Jim's hesitation was mostly due to Mama Jones's displeasure. Chrissy, on the other hand, became more and more irritated, feeling ignored and abandoned. Every argument in the family shattered the hope of a happy ending. More drama, spin-offs, and a wedding. VH1 introduced Chrissy and Mr. Jones, a spin-off devoted to their relationship since it became so prevalent in popular culture, only to their romantic tale. With Chrissy continuously seeking clarification from Jim and Jim consistently avoiding the subject, that program just made the marital issues more complicated. Problem. He even handed her a ring at one point, but there was never a wedding date. The cycle went on. Fans clung to hope despite the arguments, reconciliations, tears, and promises. After everything they had experienced, the wedding would undoubtedly take place, eventually. All those years couldn't have been for nothing, could they? The never-ending query for almost 10 years. Chrissy and Jim's interviews consistently returned to the same subject: marriage. Fans pleaded, interviewers inquired, blogs conjectured, and each time Jim dismissed it with a joke, a chuckle, or an ambiguous pledge. Chrissy, on the other hand, frequently appeared dejected, occasionally rolling her gaze, at times supporting her lover, and at other times subtly implying that she is fed up with waiting. Both of them were plagued by the question, why do they refuse to marry? Admirers, emotional commitment. The extent of fans' emotional attachment to their love story is one of the things that makes this revelation so startling. For many years, people observed Chrissy and Jim provide as evidence that genuine love can withstand the tumultuous environment of celebrity, familial meddling, and public scrutiny. They were genuine even though they weren't flawless. Because of this, it seemed like a betrayal of not just Chrissy's ambitions, but also of her supporters when she ultimately revealed the true reason they would never be married. The revelation came as a shock because it had nothing to do with money, Mama Jones, or time. Something more profound had been hiding there, under the surface the entire time. Fans were stunned when Jim repeated her and confirmed her in his own direct manner. Nobody had anticipated the reality. However, perhaps everyone should have anticipated it. Because love isn't always about the vows, the wedding gown, or the jewelry. Sometimes it has to do with the unpleasant reality that no one wants to acknowledge. Finally, Jim and Chrissy acknowledged it. The pivotal moment didn't occur during a staged interview or a lavish red carpet appearance. TV reality scenario? It happened when Chrissy and Jim sat down with producers for what was meant to be a laid-back, informal Q&A session. No one anticipated fireworks, yet in a matter of minutes, the lighthearted banter gave way to unvarnished honesty. Furthermore, what they disclosed left everyone from castmates to viewers at home who are blown away. Chrissy's obvious restlessness had been the tipping point during the discussion. Her arms crossed, eyes flashing, and voice bearing that familiar cutting edge were all signs of irritation. As a red flag. Conversely, Jim attempted to maintain his composure by making jokes and avoiding the marriage-related inquiries as usual, but this Chrissy wasn't having it this time. When the journalist inquired, "So why no wedding after all these years?" "What's really the holdup?" Chrissy said, leaning forward and looking directly at Jim. "Because he never wanted it. He loves me, but the truth is that you don't believe in marriage." The room became quiet. Jim's the smile vanished. For the first time in years, Chrissy didn't skirt the subject, soften her tone, or pretend to be someone else. She revealed the essence of their connection, which people had been speculating about for more than 10 years. Jim's admission. What took everyone by surprise, Jim's response was much more so. He groaned, scratched his face, and said, "She's right," rather than dismissing it or comforting her or the audience. "I adore her, and I'm not going anywhere. But I don't think marriage is for me." In marriage documents, "I was not brought up that way, and I do not view love that way." His candor struck fans like a ton of bricks. Jim finally said it after years of hints, postponements, and half-promises. The wedding would not go place. A covert agreement was the first twist. That wasn't all, though. Chrissy, who was obviously upset, went one step further. She disclosed that years before the cameras and the incessant inquiries, she and Jim had truly made a contract. Chrissy admitted that we had previously discussed this in private. "Years ago, we made the decision that weren't getting married. But I agreed with him because he wanted to maintain the illusion for the fans, the program, and the plot. My truth is that the fans were taken aback. Was the whole marital drama, the rings, the proposals, the back and forth, just a plot point? Did they purposefully prolong the tension in their relationship to keep viewers interested? Supporters feel deceived. For years, viewers were deeply affected by confession. Supporters had cheered for Chrissy and understood her patience, frustration, and tears. Many thought they had been strung along exactly as she had, but after hearing her acknowledge that she and Jim had always had an agreement. A few admirers felt deceived. Twitter took off, accompanied by remarks such as, "So we've been duped all along." They manipulated this marriage plot for ratings. No, this is painful. Others supported Chrissy, claiming that she had sacrificed her own interests, while I cheered for her all these years, believing that Jim was the issue. Dreams to make her lover happy, and that if anything, it demonstrated the depth of her love for Jim, who doubles down rather than retreats. Jim remained steadfast, saying, "I told her from the beginning, as he turned to face Chrissy and then the camera. "I have no faith in marriage. I'm not like that. Otherwise, though, I offer her everything. My devotion, my affection, and my time. Nothing will be sufficient if that isn't. However, I'm not going to change who I am for a little love paper." The first twist was revealed at that point. Fans believed Jim was just dragging his feet out of fear for years of dedication. In actuality, though, he had no intention of getting married. In actuality, though, he had to Chrissy. In private, he had explained that to her, and she had agreed. In private, and she had agreed to it. The emotional conflict, but calm did not follow acceptance. Chrissy's feelings were revealed as the cameras continued to roll. Although she accepted the arrangement, she said that a part of her always clung to wish that Jim might reconsider. Tears filled her eyes as she added, "I wanted that wedding," admitting that hope was what kept her battling, waiting, and proposing. "I simply knew that one day he would show up, but he never did, and I craved that day." She said, "I'm tired of waiting for something that's not coming." Jim's austere manner stood in stark contrast to her voice's emotion. There was disagreement among fans about whether Chrissy was a victim of broken promises, or if she voluntarily gave up her in only a few hours after the show aired. Social media exploded with clips of their confession. Dream for a man who never intended to give it to her? Media. TikTok edits juxtaposed Jim's unrepentant remarks paired to melancholy music with Chrissy's sobbing confession. Celebrities commented on memes that made fun of Jim's unwillingness to get married, with captions like, 20 years, 2 rings, 0 weddings. In 2. Tamar Braxton wrote, "Sis gave that man her whole life. He was unable to marry her." No. On Instagram Live, rapper Fat Joe stood up for Jim, stating that marriage isn't for everyone. "Do not pass judgment on that man for being true to himself." The cliffhanger. Did Chrissy expose too? The society was split and the arguments quickly became heated. Much? What Chrissy alluded to in her final remarks was perhaps more startling than the actual disclosure. Looking directly into the camera, she added, "You think marriage is the only secret we've been keeping? There's more. You guys have no idea. A lot more." Fans gasped at just one line. What more were Jim and Chrissy concealing? Were there any financial secrets? Family problems? Secret treachery? The possibilities were frightening and limitless. The initial twist was evident. Jim and Chrissy had no intention of getting married, hence they would never do so. But fans were left wondering after the cliffhanger whether this was only the start of a far larger disintegration. And there was no doubt about that. Whatever happened next, it was likely to rock their followers and legacy. Absolute faith. When news of Chrissy and Jim's confession broke, it wasn't simply another update on the relationship. Hip-hop, reality TV, and social media were all rocked by this blast. For years, their admirers had built up this idea that one day Chrissy would go down the aisle. "I do," Jim would respond at last, and the entire drama would recur. However, that hope was dashed by their direct revelations, and the consequences were felt right away. Social media is at war. Twitter went crazy. "On Chrissy" and other hashtags are deserving of better. Jimatan where marriage is overrated were all popular at the same time. There was constant controversy among fans, with some criticizing Jim for squandering Chrissy's greatest years, and others applauding him for being truthful about his identity. 20 years, 2 rings, no wedding? Sis spilled this man, stood by him, fought Mama Jones, and this is what she said one post that went viral. Becomes painful. "You're dragging Jim for no reason," said another. At least he was honest. Papers don't equate to loyalty, and half of these married men cheat nevertheless. Creators of TikTok combined new footage of their confession with old clips of Chrissy sobbing over Jim's delays, adding captions that suggested the signs were always there. Supporters who had previously stood up for Jim were now abandoning him, while others charged Chrissy of being self-serving by remaining the celebrity pylon. Celebrities quickly voiced their opinions, with Tamar Braxton going live and stating that it's devastating. In all honesty, Chrissy desired that wedding. Regardless of what others may think, every woman who pops the question to a man is pleading with him to take charge, but he never did. 50 Cent sparked controversy with a meme of Jim wearing a tuxedo, captioning it, "This outfit still in the closet after 20 years." Remy Ma even added his voice in a podcast appearance. At least he was honest with her. A few guys cheat by pretending to be someone you're not. However, Sis also saw her value. There was a real split. Chrissy was viewed by some as the devoted companion who merited more. Some even agreed with Jim, believing she was involved in her own suffering. Marriage is an antiquated trap. Jim, who never keeps quiet, strikes back. Jim returned the blow in his own manner. "Marriage don't mean nothing to me. Y'all want me to lie? That's not love," he said on Instagram Live, reinforcing his position. "I offer Chrissy everything. My time, my dedication, and my life. There isn't a single piece of paper missing." He even made fun of followers by saying, "Half of you are in failed marriages. If you don't understand that, that's on you." Condemning me, take care of yourself. However, rather than calming critics, Jim's remarks fanned the flames. Fans accused him of gaslighting Chrissy by denying her the one thing she most desired, her haunted admission, while using devotion as a shield. However, Chrissy's emotional reaction in a subsequent interview truly took people by surprise. Sitting by herself, she acknowledged that she was obviously disturbed. "I had hoped for years that he would change, that if I held him down, he would ultimately give me what I wanted. However, I now see that I was pursuing a goal that he never shared, and that is the most painful thing of all." Fans cheered for Chrissy for years because she was a strong, assertive woman who deserved respect. But in that moment, they witnessed the toll. It was not only television theater. Rather, it was a lady disclosing her innermost feelings. Then the part that rocked everyone. Remorse, the stunning revelation, the truths that were kept concealed. As Chrissy brushed away her tears, people assumed this is about a wedding, but it's not. She implied that Jim had delayed more than marriage. "You guys are unaware of the other things I kept hidden in order to keep him and us safe." Fans went crazy. What did she mean? But if I ever said it all, y'all would never look at him the same. She had never disclosed financial difficulties, betrayals greater than marriage. So was there infidelity? There was a lot of conjecture. Some felt she was implying long-term side affairs, while others assumed it had to do with commercial agreements that had fallen through. The cliffhanger that froze the culture was incorrect, and some even conjectured that it had to do with Mama Jones and intense family conflicts that were never depicted on screen. Jim and Chrissy sat in quiet as the episode came to a close, the weight of their words lingering in the air. "You all wanted the truth," he continued, staring straight into the camera. "You have a portion of it, but you're not prepared for the remainder." That one sentence ignited the internet. Did she intend to further expose Jim? Had she been keeping back for years? Would the unexpected revelation ultimately release her or destroy him if she did expose the rest? Not only would Chrissy and Jim never get married, but it was also possible that their whole relationship was based on unspoken compromises and half-truths. Fans were left feeling as though Chrissy was now prepared to reveal what she had been keeping hidden. Desperate for answers, shocked and betrayed, since if this was just a portion of the truth, the whole tale may be the most shocking revelation in love and hip-hop history. Chrissy and Jim's revelation wasn't simply another reality TV storyline when it aired. It became the topic of discussion in barbershops, salons, hip-hop podcasts, and gossip blogs. The couple's candid disclosure was analyzed by fans, celebrities, and industry insiders. And the responses? Fans weren't just split. They were exploding. Twitter became a battlefield as fans transformed the confession into a battleground, with some going straight for Jim, claiming that he wasted Chrissy's life. You couldn't offer her a wedding after 20 years of marriage. She deserved more, period. Jim used her to boost his ratings. This was control, not affection. Surprise took Jim's side, complimenting him on his honesty, saying that most men lie, cheat, you continue to wed for show. He was honest. You guys are behaving as though marriage equates to loyalty. Considering that half of Hollywood divorces each year, TikTok writers were occupied with editing Chrissy's teary moments. Others used memes to make fun of Jim, while others listened to depressing R&B songs. One particularly popular image had Chrissy in her famous proposal scene with the message, "Proposed in 2011, 2025, and still waiting." It received more than 1 million likes, and the reactions of celebrities are shocking. The hip-hop community had a lot to say about it. Remy Ma, who has consistently advocated for respect and "I feel Chrissy," he stated in a podcast on relationships, "That wedding was what she desired. That wedding was everything she deserved. Jim speaking marriage isn't for me. That's a justification. If you love her, you respect her aspirations." In the meantime, Jean's longtime buddy and former member of the Dipset, the rapper Commune, couldn't help but make fun of him by sharing a video of Jim on Instagram. "This my brother, but damn, he cold," she captioned the revelation, shrugging.